Sometimes we don't want to change ourselves very much. We just want to have the result of the change. Welcome, fellow champions, to Champion Reads, brought to you by Champion Circle. Champion Reads is where we delve into the best and brightest of the books by the best authors out there today to discuss the principles and how we can apply them to our lives. Brought to you again by Champion Circle. Champion Circle is a networking group where we utilize the methodologies of the mastermind to help to accelerate our lives, our businesses, and the world in general. We are joined today, special guest, the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr., who is a global mastermind leader and all-around pretty nice guy. Also, we have our co-producer, Mr. William Blake, dyslexic achievement coach, and who's also a nice guy, and myself, Ian Sturmer. Today, we are discussing the book Mindset by Dr. Carol S. Dweck. And for those of you looking online, you can see 2 out of 3 of us are holding up the book and one's holding up a phone. We won't go into names. So today we're wrapping up Mindset. If you haven't picked it up yet, first of all, this is on my top 10 list of books I've read. Mindset talks about just a brief overview, the idea of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Are we stuck in a fixed mindset where I'm either smart or I'm not smart? I'm talented or I'm not talented. I can paint or I can't paint. Or are we in a growth mindset where I can become smarter, I can become more talented, I can change the way I'm doing things? Am I blaming the outside forces in a fixed mindset, or am I looking at ways that I can change and improve as an internal mindset and growth mindset? And kind of at the end of the book, she's got a little section called Mindset and Willpower. And thought we'd just talk about that idea a little bit. What is willpower as far as our mindsets? Are we set in the idea that our motivation is where it is and it can't change? Are we an idea that we can increase our motivation? Is it something intrinsic? Is it something that we require an outside force? I know with my kids, they required an outside force to motivate them to do things. And hopefully they began to learn to internalize and want to grow and learn and gain things on their own. But I find myself, I'm going to start out with my guilt, I guess, that quite often I need an outside motivation to get me going. And that may not always be bad. Things like an accountability partner, which I call motivation by guilt, really help to motivate me. But is that a fixed mindset that I need someone else to do it for me? Or am I able to grow more on my own? Am I able to develop that willpower myself? So let me start out with that question. What is willpower and how do we use that? And how does that affect our mindsets? How's that for a very open-ended question that can go absolutely anywhere?
I'll jump in there and I want to answer the question. But before that, I want to just comment on something you said, Ian. You said it's this book is one of your top 10. I have to agree on my end as well. Mindset, when I first read it a few years ago, quickly became one of my all-time favorite books, alongside with like Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell and a few other Seth Godin books. And the reason for it is not only is it scientifically backed by evidence and examples, but the stories and the follow-alongs are just really, really applicable for many people. It resonates in a very cool way. It could have gone a different direction, and I'm glad Carol Dweck did what she did. Now, to answer your question, for me, willpower is a very interesting thing. And anytime I hear that word, two things come to mind. Number one is the phrase, if there's a will, then there's a way. I've always used that phrase. And so are you willing? It puts the pressure on you. Interesting that you brought up the outside forces. You need, motivation outside to get you to move. And I feel like a lot of people can resonate with that too, because we all struggle with needing a little bit of energy, a little bit of excitement. But when it comes to like getting something done, I think about what gets me out of bed each morning. And when I was on my athletic journey, I literally had to crawl out of bed, pull myself out of bed. Sometimes I even had to like scream for my parents to come and whip me out of bed, because sometimes the body just couldn't move after a really hard weightlifting session or a practice or whatever it was. Athleticism was very difficult to just have the will to get up. And you would think, oh, athletes, they're so talented, their bodies are amazing, they can get out of bed. But I'll tell you this, there were days where I thought, I don't even know if I can move my finger. Like, I knew I was so sore, I was so dead. And but the difference between that versus what gets me out of bed in the morning, again, I'd have to pull myself out of bed, sometimes even crawl out or roll out. But on the mission and the drive and the desires that I have today, I don't have to do that anymore. In fact, I almost levitate out of bed. I'm like shooting up like, yes, another morning to work towards what I want. And the difference there is, when there's a will, there's a way. And that will turns into action, energy, motivation. You don't really need motivation. Motivation's sort of an adhesive. It's sort of like a topical ointment you put on burns, but it's not necessarily the source of the healing. Willpower is it comes from this, and I always hold this up. I'll wrap up my thought here. Is I always carry my desire statement with me. And your desire needs to be not just something you want, but it's something that you're going to wake up every morning and fight for. And a lot of people struggle to find what they want to fight for because they're not passionate enough about it. They come from a place of necessity, a place of need, maybe a dire situation where they're sort of in a lack and they want it badly because it will provide a solution to them. But the truth is if you really, really want it, you will do anything it takes to get it. And that's willpower. Willpower is literally something that will cause you to do anything to make sure it happens. And you know what? Every morning, somehow you have willpower to get that bowl of cereal and to fill it with milk, right? You have that willpower to do whatever it is that you do. You've already done it. You've done it so much, it's become a habit, but you just have to see the small willpower compared to the great willpower. And that is the transition to how I can also seek and overcome the big, the giant, the great willpower, because you've already conquered little wins here and there. And yeah, anyways, I could talk for days on this topic. So just cut me off, just jump in, because I'm a firm believer in willpower. And by the way, who best to hear about willpower than somebody whose name has willpower in it? William Blake, everybody.
Gosh, darn it, John. I was going to say that joke.
Oh, no. All right. I took it back. Rewind.
Rewind.
Guys, I am complete.
Did you guys know that it's not just willpower, but willy power, by the way? Willpower is so important, just like you two talked about. And when I think of willpower, what comes to my mind is a battery. Because like a battery, you get it, it's full charged, and then it's, as you use it, it starts to go down. And that's exactly how I think of willpower. Like when we wake up in the morning, we are fully charged with this willpower. And then throughout the day, it starts to diminish by the decisions and the choices that we make. And then throughout the rest, and then as you get into the evening, it's just like, well, I can do this or that. That's why, at least for myself, in the morning, I'm able to do more things and make harder choices than in the afternoon and evening, where it's like at the long end of a long work day. And it's like, should I complete this big project, or should I do the small nitty gritty nuts and bolts, or just go home? And then you get into the evening and it's like, should I work on the side hustle I've been trying to do, or dang, that pizza in the fridge looks great, which would work great with a video game or maybe a streaming video, right? Because our willpower starts going down. But with that, like, it's not a sad thing, because I think we're able to re-energize the willpower that we have through small things. And I don't want to get into too much various topics as jumping back and forth, but that rechargeable thing of like rest and recovery, of like exercise, meditation, of actually going out and moving, of getting those things that actually help you recover, not sitting down and watching streaming. I'll end at that one. But that willpower is so important, because in the morning and throughout the day, like, we each have a certain amount of willpower. And if we're able to make the choices that we can make, it's better to make the hardest ones in the morning, at least what I've experienced, than during the rest of the day, to where it's just like, oh, I can do normal stuff. So that's like my entrepreneur stuff is always in the morning, and then more of like the meetings and stuff usually tend to go into the evening. Anyways, so many thoughts thrown out, but I'm complete with my thought on that.
Okay, good thought. And I just have to jump back to an earlier comment we made. The greatest sales book ever written is by Dr. Seuss. It's called Green Eggs and Ham. And it starts out, I am Sam, Sam I am. And this whole willpower thing, I thought, I am Will I am. William. Okay. Anyway, I just had to get that one out. I've got to come in with a little bit different perspective, not to say you guys are wrong, but I'm more right than you are. So, yeah, I know. When we talk about willpower, it always throws at the idea. Willpower is the gumption, the grit, whatever, to do something that's hard and you don't like. So for me, like, willpower is getting up and getting into an ice cold shower. Now, I don't do that because I don't want to, and I see no benefit in hurting myself. So there's no want involved in that. There's no why. And I think when we're looking at a willpower, we have to first look at the why. Why do we want to do something? And if the why is strong enough, then we turn into something that I bring up all the time, and I might have even said this before for people following along. It turns from willpower into want power. And want power is, what are you willing to do to get something you want? And it's hard to keep that in mind sometimes. What do we really want versus the shiny object? But the easiest example is probably weight loss. Do you want to lose weight, or do you want to eat the donut? And which is the stronger want between them? If you go on willpower, you're saying, well, I'm going to give up the donuts because of something else. If you go on want power, I'm going to be thinner because that's what I want. And a donut is simply going to distract me from what I want. And instead, that motivation becomes, what do I want to do? And I think that's the growth idea. I think the fixed mindset is when you're telling yourself you can't do something. I can't have the donuts, or I have to get up. By the way, John, as you get older, you don't have to have a hard workout to be really sore in the morning. It just happens naturally. But kind of the idea there that, do you want something instead of giving it up, instead of forcing yourself into it? Can you transmutate, because we're talking about that in some other sides now, your desire for one thing into a motivation for something else? My desire to be healthy and see my children and future grandchildren is stronger than my desire to not run, or my not liking exercise. So it's not forcing myself to do something I don't like. It's taking something that I want and transmutating that power to move forward. So I throw out the idea of want power. We're motivated by what we want, not by what we don't like.
Yeah, I agree. And if you kind of take the word will and you put it up against want, will could also be willing. What are you willing to do? And we talk about, sacrifice and dedication, but wants override everything, because at the core of a want is a desire. A lot of the things that that we think we want, they're kind of surface, like, oh, I'm hot, I need to go cool off, I'll stand in front of a fan. Oh, I'm cold, I need to throw on a jacket. Those are all topical, surface level things that we need, but at the core of what we truly desire or what we want is what's going to cause or influence us to take action. Now, I love the comparison of understanding not only at a cellular level what it is that we want to do. It's really important to understand who we are as humans. Really famous quote. I'm going to obliterate it, and I don't remember who said it, but if anyone wants to correct me or share with me, please let me know. I'm just going off of the shooting from the hip. Yes, bring it on. Fact check me here. But there's a famous quote that says something along the lines of, we are not humans having spiritual experiences. Rather, we are spirits having human experiences. And I think about that quote because it reminds me of who I really am. I'm not just human, okay? But there's more to me than meets the eye. There's so much more below the surface. And because I understand that, a true desire, a want per se, is something that I can't live without. And the things you're willing, there's that word again, willing to fight for, the things you're willing to go out and achieve, the one things that you can't live without are the things that you will exercise want power. And again, I might be beating the same drum here, but you do this on a daily basis already with little things. It is the exact transmutative energy that Anne shared to do it for the greater things as well. And that's just something I can't emphasize enough, because we are not humans having spiritual existential crises, all these types of experiences that we claim to have as humans. We are spirits having human experiences and challenges and things that are at the level of surface. And so dig deep, do the inner work, look inside within you. That's my recommendation. But want power has always come from within, and it derives from the heart. It derives from the place that you get those burning desires. And I believe that everyone has access to it.
You're right on point. That want power, like, it brings it back to our soul. It brings us to our inner being. Like, that's where we get these desires from. Like, when I was a little kid and I'm like, I want to write my own book, after reading Dr. Seuss, after reading books like from Brandon Mull, like Fablehaven or Candy Shop War, like these books I loved and adored. I'm like, I want to be an author like that. Like that, of course, that came from reading, but like that was an inner desire. That was like my want. Like, I want to be an author just like these individuals. And like that's that want power. And if I could throw a wrench in the works, because that's what we do here on Champion Reads, mostly Ian, but I will take the reins this time, is I want to take it from like what we've been talking about, want power and willpower, to kind of like how they work together rather than how they're different. So like willpower, it's the immediate, it's the short term. Like on Google, I pulled it up, so I'm not like this magic magician that knows exactly this, but like willpower, it says control exerted to do something or restrain impulse. So I think about that. That's like the short term. That's the choices that we make daily. Then when I think of want power, that's what I think of, like, that's our desires and what we want. That's our long-term focus. So we use the willpower every single day to then get what we want. But I think that the willpower can be recharged and be able to be exerted more, and we're able to tap into it. I'm going to get nerdy, kind of like on anime, where you're able to tap into your inner chi or inner focus or whatever. That when you have that desire and that want to go forward with it, like there's this power that comes into that want and into the wills, to the will that we have. We exert our will into the want that we desire. So those are the thoughts that came to my head.
You sparked something in me. I just want to comment on, Willie. I love that. And you guys remember the book Who Moved My Cheese? And the different rats or the mice that are in that. I'm remembering how they were named after their personalities, right? Like hem and haw, and the different mice and their attitudes, right? What if we gave will and want, like those are their names, and they had personalities? And you sparked this in me, Willie, because I was thinking, like, man, will is my quick action, want is the deep yearning, right? And if I give them a name, then they have a personality, they have a life. And if I'm neglecting will and want, they're not working together in unison to create outcomes. Whereas if I just focus on will, I can get little sparks of things done, but I might be missing my want. And, something that Ian brought up at the beginning of this meeting, like most people do struggle to find the motivation to do or get done what they want to get done. But maybe that's because you're fueling will, but you're forgetting want, or vice versa. You might be having a want that's not in congruence with the wills that you're willing to share or do or activate or proceed. I don't know. Just kind of an interesting idea for me. Throwing out whimsical ideas, thoughts here, because I was sparked by that, and I felt like, it would be interesting to give will and want their own name, their own lifeline, and if this were a video game of life, I need to power up on my will and want, making sure that they're evenly and equally ready to take down the boss. Okay, I'm done.
I like that, and I think William brought out a great idea, because I had a very similar thought to what John had there. That those two have to go in working together. And the will, I think, is the short sprints, and the want is the long-term goals. And if we want to get to that long-term goal, the thing we really want in the end, sometimes it's going to take some short sprints of willpower. We just have to buckle down and do it, keeping in mind what we really want in the end. And at the risk of throwing another W in there, the will and the want come down to the why. I think if we're keeping that why in our mind, why are we doing something, and recognizing the why of something, maybe even more than the actual thing. And if this makes sense, an example I use is, my wife usually won't see this, so I can say this. I usually don't really enjoy going out shopping with my wife. It's not a fun thing for me, but it's not a sacrifice for me to go out. And the reason is, one, my wife enjoys going out shopping, and I like to see her happy. So seeing her happy is not a sacrifice for me. Second, I enjoy spending time with my wife. And if it's shopping that she enjoys, I'm still spending time with her. So my want is to spend time with my wife and have her happy. That's my why behind it. So the willpower of spending time in Nordstrom Rack, for example, it's not a sacrifice, because there's a strong want and there's a strong why behind me being there. So it's not a willpower issue. I can see a stronger one. Now, there might be some times it takes a little more willpower than other times. You know, if there's a great Star Trek episode on at the same time, I have to give up. I was going to say Super Bowl, but I'm not a Super Bowl person. So that idea, again, whether it's transmutation of one desire to use that to motivate you in another, whether it's understanding the why behind what you're doing, whether it's seeing what the true want is in the long term, I think all of those come together to make the willpower, the short term, the things we don't enjoy, less of a problem because we enjoy doing that. And I'll finish up my comment with an example I use over and over again. So sorry, guys, you've heard it before. But Lance Armstrong, the cyclist, when he retired, was asked what he would miss most about his cycling career. And he said the practice. Not the crowds, not the accolades, not the endorsements, the practice. Because he understood the want to be the best cyclist all came down to practice. And all of those things eventually came down to him to what, for me at least, and maybe others, is the most mundane, annoying, and difficult part of all of it. And that became what he loved because he understood the want in it. He understood, going back to mindset, the growth idea that the practice is what's going to allow him to do everything else. And all of that joy came down to the practice and where he could grow and change from that. So I'll finish my comments on that.
No, thank you for the comment. I think it's very important that when we're talking about will and want power, when we're talking about our desires, short-term, long-term, that we don't forget that each of us are our own selves. And each of us have things that we want, and other people have things that they want. So Ian, I don't think you need to shy away from like you don't like the shopping aspect with your wife, but just like your wife loves to go shopping. Your wife loves to window shop and go out there. But also you love being with your wife, right? I don't think each of us need to have that same desire when we go out and are interacting with people. I simply think that as long as we are doing what we love, as long as we are putting an effort to doing things that we are Oop, did I cut out?
Temporarily. Go back 10 seconds. Rewind.
Beep-whoop, beep-whoop, beep-whoop. So basically what it comes down to is like we're all different. If we all had the exact same personalities and everything, it'd be a very boring world. And so hopefully my camera doesn't cut me out again. I'll just wrap this up of like as we're going and having the wants that we have, and as we go and share with what we love in the world, let us be different, but let us be ourselves. Like we need to either take action, and the champions, as you're listening to this, ask yourself between that will and want, do you need to focus more on the long term, or do you need to focus on the actions in the short term? If you are dreaming but need to make it a reality, it might be the actions in the short term. But if you're taking actions in the short term but have no clue where you're going and the direction you're going towards, you need to start thinking about the long-term aspect of it. So as we go forward, we got to do what we got to do, but we got to ask ourselves those hard questions of what do we need to do to enact that will and want power.
Yeah, I'll wrap up today's conversation with just an example from the book. Carol Dweck tells a story about willpower and how Nathan wanted to look good for wedding photos and pictures, and he wanted to look his best, but he did not see the importance of following a lifelong habit and diet rather than just a temporary fix, because we all want something temporary. We want a fast, quick, and easy solution. And so what Nathan ended up doing was he used his willpower to do one of those liquid crash diets where you lose a lot of weight really, really fast. And then after the wedding and everything, he put on more weight than he had lost because of the habitual connection to his willpower. We all have willpower, and willpower is a very impressive thing. If you think about it, we can do a lot of things in a very quick amount of time. But when you combine willpower with want power, you truly are connected to the desires, the soul, the spiritual level, the things that we've discussed today. And I think that that's just a powerful, powerful reminder, and also to an invitation, really a challenge to you to write down what you truly want, to seek what it is that you desire, and to make sure you look at those regularly, repeat them out loud, as Napoleon Hill would say, and to make sure that that's something that you are in continual congruence with. And willpower and want power will work in unison to create the results that you want and make you happy, healthier, wealthier.
Love that. And I think that's a good way to end it. Let's be happier, wealthier, and healthier. I think that's a good desire for me. So as we wrap up Mindsets, if you are not happy with your life, if you're not happy with your business, your family, the way things are going, pick up a copy of Mindset. It will not change your life, but it will teach you how to change your life. And go back and listen to our other podcasts as we discuss how we've applied some of these principles to our lives. If you've enjoyed this, we hope that you will like and subscribe to this podcast to learn more about the best books out there and how we can use them in our lives. Again, this is Champion Reads, where we discuss the best books by the best authors for our best lives, brought to you by Champion Circle. You can find out more about Champion Circle by visiting us at mychampioncircle.com or at mychampioncircle on all your favorite media or social media channels to find long and short videos and trainings, find out more about our events that we are hosting, and we hope to see you at some of those. If you have comments you would like to make to us, things that you like or don't like about us, especially things you like, we're excited to hear those, but we can deal with some criticism as well. You can reach us by emailing info@mychampioncircle.com. Again, that's info@mychampioncircle.com. Until next week, thank you very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we would love to hear the things you like the most. So a special thank you again to Mr. John Kovacs Jr. and Mr. William Blake for just some incredible comments today. So thank you and have a wonderful day.